What is up, everyone? Welcome to the How to Vegan podcast. My name is Kristen. I'm the host of this podcast. And as always, I'm really stoked that you are tuning in today. Today's episode is going to be all about my top 10 vegan documentaries. I get asked this question a lot. Hey, I'm wanting to go vegan. What are some documentaries that you recommend? Or hey, I've been vegan for a while, but I really want to show some documentaries to my non-vegan friends and family to get them to see where I'm coming from. So if any of those things apply to you, then this episode is going to be perfect for you. Thank you so much to today's sponsor, Okja Malibu. They are the original plant-based, cruelty-free, vegan, results-driven skincare line, and their stuff is absolutely amazing, you guys. So I'm definitely going to be talking a little bit more about them in a little bit. So stay tuned for a little friend discount code that I have just for you guys. If you're not following the podcast on Instagram, just do a little search for How to Vegan Podcast and it should pop right up. And if you're listening to this episode and you're loving it, take a screenshot of yourself listening to it on your phone, share it to your Instagram, tag the podcast account, tag my personal account at kristen.pound, and I will definitely share it. I love when you guys help spread the news about this podcast. So screenshot, share away. I also wanted to let you guys know about the ebook that I have in case you aren't aware that it exists. It's my Healthy Vegan Starter Kit. It's only $5. You can find it on my website, and it includes 2 weeks of meal plans, more than 20 healthy, delicious, and affordable vegan recipes, plus grocery lists, and more. So you can just head to kristenpound.com, click on Vegan Starter Kit, and you'll find it there. You'll get a download sent to your email address, and you can start using it right away. Please make sure you're subscribed to this podcast on your favorite listening platform. And if you're absolutely loving the podcast, then please head on over to iTunes or the Apple Podcast app, leave a rating, leave a review. It helps the podcast out so much. I cannot even stress to you guys how important it is to me. Thank you so much to those of you who have. Every time I put out a new episode, I have people that go and leave reviews, and they're just the nicest, best reviews. They make me feel so good because I don't really have another way to communicate with you guys except through Instagram. So it's really nice to kind of hear your feedback about the podcast. So again, if you're enjoying the podcast, if you're finding that it's just really helpful and educational and you're just loving it, then go leave a rating, go leave a review. It really means so much to me. And don't forget to share this episode with any of your friends or family who might be interested in this information that I've put together for you today. Like I always say, go ahead, share that vegan love. It feels so good and the ripple effect is so real. For the full show notes, including links to everything that I mentioned in this episode, head to my website, kristenpound.com, click on the podcast tab, or you can just head straight there by clicking the link in the description of this podcast on whatever podcast listening platform you are listening on. There will be a direct link to this episode. It'll take you to all of the show notes. So go ahead, open that up, click on that link where it says full show notes, and you will find everything that you need there. Alrighty, now let's get into today's topic, my top 10 vegan documentaries. Okay, so like the title says, in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about my favorite vegan documentaries. Some of them focus on the health aspects of a plant-based diet. Some of them focus on the environmental impacts that both a non-vegan and a vegan lifestyle have on the planet. And some of them focus on the animal rights side of things, why animals shouldn't be treated as commodities, and why they have every right to live as we do. And some of the documentaries on the list, in fact, most of them probably, end up touching on all three aspects of why people decide to go vegan. So if you haven't seen these or seen all of these and you're looking to open your eyes to the truth about where your food comes from and the impact it has on so many aspects of this world, or if you're looking for some awesome movies to share with non-vegan friends and family to help them understand why veganism is the fucking best thing ever, then I highly recommend each and every documentary on my top 10 list. So veganism has never been more popular. It's literally everywhere these days. At least it is compared to when I first went vegan back in 2011, when people were like, what is veganism? What are you talking about? I have no, like, you're gluten-free? That's what that means? Like, no animal products. But nowadays it is literally everywhere, like commercials on TV for the Impossible Whopper and all of these mainstream companies and brands deciding to create more vegan or plant-based options. And it is awesome. It's like literally everywhere. It's celebrities are becoming vegan. The word is spreading and it's absolutely amazing. More and more people are realizing the benefits of a plant-based diet as well as the vegan lifestyle as a whole, and they're choosing to make the change. And without a doubt, watching a documentary about animal rights or veganism is one of the top reasons people move toward a vegan diet. It's definitely the reason that I went vegan, watching documentaries. So it's a huge way to open up your eyes and to kind of know what is going on. Watching one of the documentaries on this list is a great way to learn about the lives of billions of animals subjected to horrific, awful treatment on factory farms, the incredibly negative impact animal agriculture has on the environment, and how animal products adversely affect our health. And like I mentioned earlier, documentaries can be an awesome way of introducing important messages to non-vegan friends and family, inspiring those of them who might have a chronic disease, who might have some weight loss goals, those who are really excited about athleticism and wanting to be the best athlete they can be, and those who have a passion for saving the environment or not harming animals to shift toward a more plant-based diet. I have a lot of friends and family who are like, I love animals. I'm like, well, so you're vegan then? And they're like, no, that's not the same thing. I'm like, okay, watch these documentaries, at least watch some of them, and you'll know what I mean. Like you'll know what I mean. So inspiring a friend to watch one of these documentaries can just be a really great way to get them to understand the facts and it's not coming from you, because sometimes that just doesn't really work. I think I talked about this in my holiday survival guide, where you're sitting at the table or it's like a holiday party and people are like, why are you vegan? What are the positive benefits? Why don't you eat meat? And sometimes it's nice to just say, hey, I think you should watch one of these documentaries. Here are a few I recommend. After you watch them, let's have a conversation about it so that we're both like on even playing fields and we can have an educated conversation. And it's just a great way to kind of to educate people without being like super pushy. Like, hey, watch this movie. You're going to really kind of see where I'm coming from. And another thing that I've done, like for my birthday or for Christmas, sometimes people are like, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas this year? And sometimes I've just said, all that I want is for you guys to watch X documentary, whichever one it is, or maybe these two documentaries, because you being around for a long time, because maybe you change your diet, means more to me than any gift that I could ever receive. Or maybe you understanding where I'm coming from on some of these issues would mean so much to me. So if you're ever just wanting a reason for people to watch one of these documentaries, say it's your birthday next week, say it's your birthday soon, whatever it is, and ask someone to watch these. It can be a really great way to inspire other people, because these documentaries are so powerful, and sometimes just getting them into the hands of the right people can make a huge change. So whether you are a newcomer to veganism, a brand new vegan, you're a longtime vegan, or you're just someone who is considering veganism but you're not quite convinced yet, then I am 100% positive you will find something useful and entertaining in all of the documentaries on my top 10 list. Okay, so one more little thing before I dive into the list of my top 10 vegan documentaries. I did just want to note that you should take everything you see or hear in these documentaries with a grain of salt. Do your own research. I'm huge on doing your own research. Remember that these documentaries are meant to get you to change your way of thinking, and therefore they are definitely a bit biased. While most of the stuff they say is true, or at least mostly true, some of it has been a little bit stretched in order to be more influential. That's the point of the documentary. So please just keep this in mind while watching any of these films. Okay, the first documentary on my top 10 list, they're not really in any specific order, but the first one is my favorite. It's the reason that I went vegan. It's what jump-started my entire journey into this amazing new lifestyle. And so it's really near and dear to my heart, and that is Forks Over Knives. Forks Over Knives came out in 2011, which is the year I went vegan, which is probably why I saw it and was introduced to it. I think it just popped up on my Netflix, and for some reason I watched it. And it's just such a good documentary. It was really inspiring, and like I said, it just pushed me to make the change. I watched this and literally went vegan. Like, didn't eat any more animal products after that. I was like, I'm done. That was enough for me. So if you haven't seen Forks Over Knives yet, definitely watch it. It is available on Netflix. You have to have a subscription. A lot of these are available on Netflix with a subscription, but If you don't want to pay for a subscription, you can get a free month trial. And if you want to just do the free month trial, watch any of these that sound interesting to you, and then cancel your membership. That's always a possibility, or just cancel your membership after you're done watching any of these. But a lot of people have Netflix subscriptions, and a lot of these are on Netflix, which I think is really, really cool. And a lot of these documentaries are available to rent or to purchase on lots of different platforms online, like YouTube, Amazon, iTunes, those kinds of places. So I'm not going to mention it every single time if they're available there. So you might want to just do a quick little Google search and see where you can find them. But a lot of these, most of these are, like, you can just search for it and find where you can rent it or buy it online. I'm also going to be leaving links to the trailers for all of these in the show notes. So if something is sounding really intriguing to you, you can go click on the link in the show notes for each documentary and kind of get an idea, watch the trailer, get an idea of what the documentary is going to be like and if it might be something that you would enjoy. But anyway, Forks Over Knives came out in 2011, and it shows the health benefits of plant-based foods. That's like the main focus of this documentary. It follows leading experts in the field who all independently reached the conclusion that a whole food, plant-based diet is the number one way to best improve your health and well-being. And this documentary makes the extraordinary claim that most, if not all, of our most chronic diseases can be prevented, controlled, and in some cases even reversed through proper diet, aka the whole foods plant-based diet. Forks Over Knives looks at scientists, including several experts on plant-based nutrition, such as T. Colin Campbell, who's the author of the China Study, and he presents his findings on the world's most comprehensive nutrition study ever conducted. They also feature doctors and regular everyday Americans as they research or convert to a vegan lifestyle. And you guys, the impact that veganism has on these people is so incredible. People lose weight, they feel so much better, and in some cases have the worst symptoms of their illnesses, things like diabetes and cancer, alleviated, or they just go away completely. All of the claims made in the documentary are backed up with doctors, scientists, and real-life people that seem to just have transformed their lives with this plant-based way of eating. And one thing that I will say, and this is true for some of these other like health-focused documentaries, is that they really make these claims and make it seem like this is a cure-all for everything. Like if you have any disease, eat this way and it's just gonna fix it. But like I said, these films are meant to make you want to change your ways, and so they're really a little bit biased. I mean, completely honest. So this one and What the Health, they kind of make it seem like if you do this, there's no other factor, you're going to be totally okay, which is not the case. There are other factors, there are other things that can come into play. So just be aware that it does make it seem like it is the cure-all for everything, and that is just not the case. It would be awesome if it was. I mean, it can help. There's no reason in not trying. You know, if you have some sort of disease, chronic illness, there's no harm in trying a plant-based diet based around whole foods, because the side effects are not really, the negative side effects are not really existent. So it's not to say that they can just fix everything instantly. The documentaries, especially Forks Over Knives and What the Health, can make it seem that way a little bit. So I did want to put that disclaimer in there because it can be a little bit misleading, and I just wanted to, put that out there for you guys. But the people that do this the people that are involved in this documentary, they really do have some mind-blowing changes happen to them. And it's really cool to see these people who felt like shit start to feel better just from changing the way they're eating. And it can feel like magic sometimes. Like you're like, wait, what? I just changed the food I was eating and I feel so much better. So it's really cool that there are these documentaries out there that highlight these people who are really making a change and a difference in their lives and feeling so much better. Forks Over Knives also touches on the ethical side of things, like the animal rights issues and the environmental impacts of a vegan diet, but it isn't too heavy on that stuff. Like it doesn't talk about it a ton, but like I said, this is a film that made me go vegan, and I went vegan for ethical reasons. 100% went vegan for animal rights issues. Like I am vegan for the animals all the way. That is my why. That is why I'm doing this. I don't believe it's necessary to harm innocent animals for our taste buds or for our convenience. I believe that whole plant-based foods, especially whole foods, are what our bodies need to thrive. And I went vegan for the animals. The health issues, the environmental issues definitely came later for me. And now it's all three for sure. But this documentary definitely touches on the ethical side of things as well. So if you have someone in your family or one of your friends that is more concerned about the health aspects of things, this is a good documentary to show them, because it is going to highlight some of those ethical impacts as well and might get them to think a little bit more about that too. But just be aware that a lot of these documentaries, if not all of them, show some pretty graphic images of animals in factory farms. And it's really upsetting. At least it is for me, just seeing that for however long they show it in this movie. I haven't watched this movie since I first went vegan, so a long time ago, because of that. I haven't watched any of these more than once because of the graphic images of animals being abused. Like, even if it's a 2-second clip, I just instantly start crying. Like, I watched the trailers for each of these documentaries just to kind of get a refresher of what they were about, and I was like sobbing earlier this week in my house. I was just like, oh, this is why I just hate this. I hate what people do to animals. It just upsets me so much. So be aware that some of these do show that kind of stuff, but I think everybody needs to see that. I think everybody on this planet who is eating that kind of food needs to take responsibility and know where their food is coming from. And if that makes you upset for a little bit, I think it's worth it. Because anytime after I went vegan that I wanted to, maybe had some cravings for some cheese or something like that. I didn't really ever crave meat. It mostly was just like, oh, that cheese board looks good. I kind of want that. It's okay, right? I would just think of dairy factory farms and how awful they are. And I would be like, no, I don't need to do that. Like, I'm good without. So I think that opening your eyes up to all of these aspects of veganism through these documentaries is just, everybody should do it. Okay, the next documentary on my list is The Game Changers. This is a huge one. If you haven't heard about The Game Changers this year, then you must be living underneath a rock, because this has been the talk of the town. I don't know why I just said the talk of the town. I haven't said that ever. But anyway, The Game Changers came out this year in 2019. It is available on Netflix, and The Game Changers is a documentary that challenges the myth that meat is necessary for protein. If you've been vegan for a hot minute, or even if you're just a new vegan, you've probably had that question, well, where do you get your protein? This documentary will 100% explain how vegans get enough protein. It's produced by huge names such as Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan, and it challenges the assumptions that most people have about meat, protein, and strength, while showing how athletes in all areas, in all kind of like athletic endeavors, truly thrive on plants alone. They don't need meat, they don't need dairy, they don't need eggs. And it really dives into the health benefits of a plant-based diet for anyone who is into any kind of sport or just into working out in general. It really busts that old myth that you need animal protein to build muscle and be manly. They highlight some of the best athletes around the world, bodybuilders, Olympic athletes, and they just show how these people can be vegan and still be at the top of their game. Some of them get better, improve after going vegan, after going plant-based. So it's a really good documentary to show anyone who is an athlete or anyone who is, like I said, really into working out and wanting to improve their performance. Show them this documentary, because they're probably like, I lift weights, I'm a football player, I do XYZ. I need protein in order to perform at my best. And that is just not the case for most people. They don't need animal protein to perform at their best. In fact, it really can hinder their progress and can really slow them down. They highlight one of the teams in the NFL, I think it's the Tennessee Titans. A lot of their defensive line and some other players on their defense have become plant-based and just totally improved their performance. And it's just so cool to see that, because before this, there wasn't any real awesome documentary about athletes going vegan and what the effects can be and how they perform. And so this documentary is perfect for that. It was a really, like it's called, it was a real big game changer. And you'll see just amazing transformations that happen in these athletes that decide to leave animals off their plates. So again, if you have an athlete in your friend group or your family and they're like, what are you doing? That is not manly, or that is not good for athletes, show them this documentary or recommend this documentary because their minds are going to be blown. Okay, the next one on my top 10 list is Cowspiracy, the Sustainability Secret. Also just known as Cowspiracy most of the time, but the full title is Cowspiracy, the Sustainability Secret. This came out in 2014. It's available on Netflix, and it looks at the link between animal agriculture and sustainability. So this one's all about the environment. And as a lot of us know, as a lot of mainstream adults and people know, if we care about the environment, we should be recycling, we should be driving less, using less water by showering less. But no one really seems, at least in the general public, to be talking about the second largest contributor to global warming and the climate crisis, animal agriculture. The first, because I know you might be wondering, what is the first largest contributor? The first is all forms of energy combined, including transportation, all of that combined. But the second largest contributor to global warming is animal agriculture. And a lot of people really don't know this, or they may have heard this and it doesn't hit them as strongly as like, oh, I just need to not drive my car because that'll save so much. And that's not hurting by any means. That's definitely helping. But the number one thing you can do is to focus on what you're eating. That makes such a big difference. And in case you didn't know, animal agriculture is responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation industry combined, which is huge. It's so much. It just is, it's really devastating. So Cowspiracy explains how our animal-based diets contribute to everything from climate change and species extinction, which is so sad to know how many species are going extinct. It is happening at an incredibly high rate, and it is so sad. They also talk about land being used for animal agriculture and how much of that is actually being used for the production of animal products. It is a staggering amount, mind-blowing, upsetting, huge amount of land is used for that. And they also talk about water and water wastage. They use facts and evidence to show that the biggest change you can make to save the planet is cutting animal products from your life and from your diet. And if you don't cut it out completely, then at least consider reducing it. If you care about the environment and you want to make a difference, you have to be looking at the amount of animals that you are consuming, or else you're just turning away from the issue. You're just like ignoring it and not facing it head on because your taste buds want to eat meat or dairy. You want the convenience factor. You don't want to upset your friends and family. Whatever it is, you really have to stop and think, are these reasons big enough for me to ignore the environment? And for me, after watching Cowspiracy, I was like, wow, now the environment is a huge, huge, huge reason for me to be vegan, stay vegan, and promote veganism like I do. Because if you didn't know, our climate is in a massive crisis and something has to be done. And this seems like such a simple way for people to make a really huge impact. And this perspective, this way of thinking also leads the filmmaker to question major environmental groups on their stance on animal agriculture. So he calls him up. It's kind of awkward, but it needs to be done. And it results in some super awkward interviews with higher ups at companies like Greenpeace and Sierra Club, which you would think would be promoting a vegan diet. Like if you're a company that wants to save the planet and you're huge on, environmentalism, then you should be definitely promoting a plant-based diet or at least reducing your meat intake. And some of these interviews that he has with these companies are really awkward, really interesting. And it's just, I'm proud of him for doing that because that would be really hard for me to do, to call these companies up and confront them. So he does that in this documentary, and it's really eye-opening and interesting. In this film, it's just going to leave you with so many shocking facts about the impact that what you have on your dinner plate has on the environment. You're going to find it hard to not at least reconsider or think about in a much deeper way how you eat. Next on my list is What the Health. This is another one of those documentaries like The Game Changers that just blew up and everybody was talking about it, and so many people went vegan because of What the Health. It came out in 2017. It's available on Netflix and iTunes, and it studies the link between diet and disease. So following the success of Cowspiracy, the same filmmakers use this documentary to show that veganism is really good for our bodies as well as the planet. So they decided to go in another direction for this documentary, focus on the health aspects of veganism because they had already touched on the environmental aspects, and they wanted to kind of put their own style into one of the documentaries that talks about the health benefits. What the Health explores, like I said, the health benefits of a plant-based diet, and they expose the reluctance of health and nutrition organizations to point out the negative effects of consuming animal products. So again, Kip Anderson, he confronts these companies again. He comes upon the numerous cover-ups that major health organizations like the American Heart Association and the American Diabetes Association have performed to really obscure the role that meat has in damaging our bodies and our well-being. And he kind of does that same thing, calls them up, asks to talk to some higher ups, and asks the question, why aren't you guys saying that you shouldn't be eating red meat, eating any animal products at all? If the studies are out there that they're harmful, why are you promoting animal products? Why are you doing that? And it's just an awkward situation, but a conversation that needs to happen, and that people in the American public and all over the world need to see that these companies are really lying to us and doing what benefits them for financial reasons and just covering things up so that they can make money while we're getting sicker. And it's so shitty because you think that these associations, these organizations have our best interests in mind, and they really don't. And it's really sad. This movie was such a bummer for me. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is happening. This was so mind-blowing. And this is a movie that some of my friends decided to go vegan, and some people that I know really well, a lot of people joined my How to Vegan Facebook group after this movie came out in 2017. Like, a huge amount of people, thousands of people a week were joining my Facebook group after this came out and being like, what the hell is the reason that I went vegan? What the fuck? Why is this happening? I don't want to contribute to this, and I don't want to be lied to, and I need to educate myself further. What the Health is loaded with so many facts. It's super eye-opening look at the money behind why meat is still on plates around the world, even when people know the danger involved. And it's just going to have you asking, what the fuck are these companies, what are big pharmaceuticals and larger corporations doing to us? And what can we do about it? How can we take this into our own hands and start to make a difference? So again, if you have anybody that is interested in the health aspects of a plant-based diet, of a vegan lifestyle, then definitely tell them to watch What the Health. It's a really impactful, inspiring documentary. Okay, so let's pause here because I feel like I'm getting slightly worked up talking about all of this controversial stuff that goes down in our country and around the world. And let's talk about Okja, the sponsor for today's episode. They are an amazing company for so many reasons. Everything that I've tried from them is absolutely wonderful. I love the way everything smells, everything feels on my skin, and my skin has just never looked better. Ever, ever, ever. In its whole entire life has my skin ever looked better, and I really credit Okja and everything that they put into their products for this amazing change. I used to get really bad blemishes on my chin. If you watched any of my older YouTube videos, then you will definitely know what I'm talking about. I would do my best to cover it up, but it was super noticeable. And as soon as I started using Okja's products, boom, it helped so much. So I use their Ocean Cleanser and their Blemish Balm, which is my absolute favorite. It smells so good. It feels so good on my skin. And I also use their Corrective Complex. It's like a roll-on that you kind of dab on your blemishes as they start to show up, and it really helps reduce the appearance of the breakout. And I just tried their red algae mask, and oh my God, it is so good. Like, if you're looking for a really nice mask, try that out. Everything is non-toxic, it's plant-based, it's cruelty-free, it's vegan. They use this bioavailable seaweed, and I really think that's like the magic in their products. And everything is sourced really responsibly. They really care about the environment. So if you want to go to their website and check it out, they have like a skin quiz that you can take, and it'll kind of tell you some products that they think would work best for your skin based off of the answers you use, which is so helpful because they have a lot of amazing stuff and it can be kind of hard to narrow it down. You're going to want to buy everything. And if you see something that you're interested in and you're like, I got to have this, then you're in luck because Okja was so kind to provide you guys with a little discount. You can use my link in the description and you'll get $10 off your first purchase of $50. And it's just oseamalibu.com/howtovegan. But again, it'll just be in the description and the show notes for this episode. And you can just click on it and go shop, and then it'll just be automatically applied. The discount will be automatically applied when you check out. So if you're looking for some vegan skincare products, definitely click on that link. Go scope out what they have on their website. You're going to love it. Okay, so back to the list of my top 10 vegan documentaries. The next one on the list is Earthlings. I actually have never seen any amount of this documentary at all. None of it. I can't bring myself to watch it. It came out in 2005. It's available for free online. I'll leave a link in the show notes for you. And this documentary exposes cruelty towards animals in our food system. And warning, huge warning, this documentary includes very graphic images. Earthlings is narrated by Joaquin Phoenix. He's vegan. He's amazing. Huge supporter of animal rights. And it's packed with, like I said, graphic footage of violence against animals. So even talking about it right now is making my nose tingle. Like I'm going to start crying. Oh, God. If you guys have been listening to this podcast for a while, anytime I talk about this stuff, it just hits me hard. It makes me feel like shit. This is why I can't watch this documentary. I just know that these images would be burned into my brain and I wouldn't be able to stop thinking about it, and it would just really affect me because I've seen this stuff. I've seen these images. I've seen them in other documentaries, and I can't do it. So this documentary in particular is really, really difficult to watch from what I have heard. But at the same time, a lot of people still consider it to be essential viewing for anyone who uses or consumes animal products. Like if you know someone, or if you're someone that doesn't know what happens in these factory farms or any situation like that, you should watch this movie 100% because you should know what happens. Like I said, you should take responsibility for what you're eating and you should know what happens. I've heard that some people watch this and they're like, I don't care. I'm still going to eat meat. I'm still going to drink my milk. I'm still going to eat eggs. And that is their decision. I think that the point of this podcast is to educate yourself and then make your own decision. Same with these documentaries. Watch these documentaries and then make an educated decision. But I have a feeling that anybody that watches this is going to deeply think about their food choices because it sounds like it is just a really hard thing to watch. The documentary focuses on the way animals are manipulated by humans for use as food, clothing, entertainment, scientific research, and as pets. It's one of the most distressing depictions of animal suffering that you will probably ever see, and it's gonna stick with you. It will definitely stick with you. Some of the footage is shot guerrilla style, so kind of hidden cameras in pet stores, slaughterhouses, factory farms, and more. And it shows how animals are used and abused for profit. So many people are into doing whatever they want to do or whatever they think is okay, even if they don't think it's okay, for money. Greed and money can cause people to do such shitty things. The shots in this movie are absolutely heartbreaking, and most viewers, if they haven't seen this kind of stuff before, are going to be hella shocked by the breadth of animal abuse behind many aspects of our daily lives, even if they don't realize it. Even if they think, oh, I'm going to go to Petco and get a dog. It's like, well, do you really know what happened in order for that dog to be there? Or I'm just going to go to Hamburger. Fuck you, vegans. Do you really know what happens in these factory farms or in these operations that go down in order for that hamburger to get on your plate? Do you really know? And if you don't, you should find out. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know. No, it's not. You need to know what's happening. Take responsibility. And this is a really great way to kind of open up your eyes. So again, if you're someone who doesn't really know what happens, you don't have to watch the whole thing. Just turn on some of it, watch some clips, and pretty soon you're going to realize how awful these industries are. And this is the entire reason why I'm vegan. The entire reason is the stuff that happens to these animals. I just love animals so much. And having a cat, I rescued him, by the way. looking at him, hugging, I love him literally more than anything. I cannot imagine a soul like that in a cow, or him, or being like beat and tortured and just having their baby ripped away from them and all the awful things that go down. And so I think it's an important film to watch if you haven't seen stuff like that, or if someone in your life is like, no, it's not that bad. The dairy industry is not that bad. Like, okay, well, chickens are meant to lay eggs. Like, it's not that bad. Like, you should watch this. Like, let's sit down, let's watch this. This is really, really important. And bottom line, this is the footage that these big industries don't want you to see. So take one for the team, do it, make some changes, and this is just going to be a really impactful movie if you haven't seen it. Similarly, the next documentary on my list is called Dominion. This one came out in 2018. It's available for free online. I'll leave a link for that. And you can find it on YouTube for free as well. And this documentary exposes the dark reality of animal agriculture. Again, warning, very graphic images. Dominion takes the animal cruelty found in the food system under the spotlight for all of us to see. Celebrities like Joaquin Phoenix, Kat Von D, and Sia are featured in the film. And this film uses drones and hidden cameras to really expose how awful the industry is. And it makes you question, how can I call myself moral while these horrendously awful practices continue as long as I'm supporting them? It really is another one of those movies that opens up your eyes to the awful abuse, torture, murder, slaughter of these innocent animals who want to live just as much as you and I, who have the right to live. We don't need animal products. We don't need to eat meat. We don't need dairy. We don't need eggs. We don't need any of this stuff. We can get everything we need from plants. So why would we cause this insane amount of harm to these animals? And just, you can see the terror. You can hear the terror. You can see tears streaming down their eye. It is so sad. It is awful. I just can't even stress how bad this stuff is. Ugh. Everybody needs to see this. Anybody who consumes meat, consumes any animal products in general, needs to see this stuff. It's just, this should be required. Like, oh, you're going to buy meat? Have you seen these movies? Because if not, you need to know what happens. Like, I just wish everybody would watch these. I just wish everybody would watch these. Dominion really features the worst of the meat and dairy industry's practices. It's not an easy watch, but like Earthlings, it's an essential one. The horrific practices showcased in the film are widespread. It's not just like a couple of farms here and there. This is like widespread practice that happens everywhere. And while ignorance of them might be nice, like I said, some people are like, ignorance is bliss. Okay, it might be nice, but knowledge truly is the only path that is going to make the world a better place. Knowing what's going on, you can make educated decisions, you can make empowered decisions, and that is what the world needs right now. So if you haven't watched Earthlings or Dominion, please go watch one of them. And if you already know the awful stuff that happens and you're going to be vegan forever because of it, then maybe don't, because I haven't seen either one of them. I just can't do it. I'm going to be vegan for my whole life because of the stuff that happens in there, and I don't need to expose myself to those images. I would just be scarred forever because I've already seen it. Some of these other documentaries and some other like clips on YouTube and stuff like that, and I can take 2 seconds of it and I'm bawling, I'm crying. I can't stop. It affects me for days, for weeks, for months. So, but if you haven't seen this kind of stuff, please watch one of those 2 movies. Okay, the next one on the list is a little more lighthearted, and it is Vegucated. It came out in 2011. It is available on YouTube, so I will leave a link for that. And this documentary follows the lives of 3 meat and cheese loving New Yorkers, so people who are not vegan, who are like, fuck veganism, this is dumb. It follows these 3 people who agree to try a vegan diet for 6 weeks, and it documents their experiences along the way. And there are totally some struggles, like the cravings that they get for non-vegan food, awkwardness at social events, which is really like an understandable thing, especially if you're a new vegan, so it's really relatable. But the participants learn about modern farming practices, aka the cruelty that goes down in factory farms, and they also learn about the environmental consequences of eating animal products, which makes returning to eating meat and dairy a lot more difficult than veganism ever could be. Once you know what goes on, it's like, well, eating plants isn't that bad. Like, this is actually delicious. Why would I do that? So it's a really, really interesting documentary. This one came out again the same year I went vegan, and I watched that that watched it that year, and I was like, this is so cool. I'm going to do this forever. Like, it was such an inspiring time, and this is definitely one of the movies that inspired me to stick with it. And just, it was so cool to see these like non-vegan people that didn't want to do it at all, their transformation and their experiences. So if this sounds like something that you would enjoy, definitely watch this one. And it's really cool because you're like, well, are these people going to stay vegan after the challenge is over? Are they going to reduce the amount of animal products they're eating? Or are they just going to go back to their old ways? Well, this documentary follows up with the people who would participate in the challenge, so you will find out. And that part is really cool. Next on the list is Food Inc. This one came out a while ago. This one came out in 2008, and it's available on Hulu with a subscription, and it's free online, so I'll leave a link for that, like I will for all of these. And Food Inc. is going to have you thinking twice about the food you eat. It exposes the way in which only a handful, like a few major corporations, control every aspect of the food chain in the United States and elsewhere, but they're focusing on the United States, including industrialized factory farms, the use of pesticides and chemicals, food labeling, dietary regulations. And it just highlights how these companies prioritize profit over public health, the livelihood of farmers, the state of the planet, the safety of workers, all of that stuff. Like, money is what matters most to them, and they are willing to do anything, including harm the workers, destroy the planet for money. Yeah, money will make people do some really, 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 really awful things. And this really highlights that. So if you've ever wondered what's in your food, which you should be wondering, what's in my food? What am I putting into my body? Then this documentary is for you. You're going to learn why corn finds its way into so many foods, things that you wouldn't even expect to find corn in. A lot of it is GMO corn. You'll find out about the cruel practice of fattening up chickens with hormones to speed their growth so they can be sent to slaughter even earlier. Again, questioning you like, wait, do I want to be consuming these growth hormones every time I eat meat? And it also talks about how current laws exonerate corporations and companies, such as factory farms, from being held accountable for the methods of production that they use. Plus, they leave you with some action steps that you can begin to take on your own to make changes that will impact the food industry and make a difference for the better. So it's going to just be a huge deep dive into the food that you're eating. Again, I think everybody should see this. Vegans, vegetarians, non-vegans, anybody who eats food should watch this so that you start to think, wait, where is my food coming from? What else am I being lied about? Why are they lying to me about this stuff? Why don't I know this stuff? This one was one that was like, why don't they talk about this stuff in school? Like, why am I learning such silly things like dates and all this weird stuff in school when I should be learning about the most important thing, the food I put into my body, the things that become my cells, who I am? Like, why isn't this talked about? And you'll find out why. Money. Corporations want to make money, so they hide stuff from you and they use manipulative marketing techniques and all of this stuff. So if you're interested in knowing what's in your food, highly recommend watching Food Inc. I thought it was just so eye-opening and just one of those documentaries that made you hungry for more. Okay, the next one on my top 10 list is called Eating Animals. I haven't seen this one, but so many people say that this is such a good documentary, so I wanted to include it. I almost watched it, but again, I can't subject myself to that. I just can't do it. I have too much. I want to focus on like producing these podcasts and filming YouTube videos that I just like literally the movies like this would just take me out for days. I couldn't do anything. So if you haven't seen Eating Animals, this is one that is highly recommended. It came out in 2017. It's available on Hulu and you can buy or rent on YouTube or Amazon Prime. And it's based on the best-selling book by Jonathan Safran Foer. I think that's how you say his last name. I'll leave a link to the book if you want to like read that first, or if you're into books more than movies or whatever, then I'll leave a link for that. And it's narrated and co-produced by Natalie Portman, who's vegan, by the way, and I absolutely love her. So Eating Animals is an eye-opening look at the environmental, economic, and health consequences of factory farming. And it traces the history of food production in the United States, showing how farming has gone from local and sustainable to a corporate monster that offers super cheap meat, dairy, eggs at a really steep cost. Not money-wise, but as far as the exploitation of animals go, the risky use of antibiotics and hormones and, us consuming that, and the pollution of our air, soil, and water. This documentary highlights some farmers who have pushed back against these new industrial agriculture techniques, and they're opting for more humane practices. And eating animals offers attainable, common sense solutions to an ever-growing crisis, while making the case that ethical farming is not an only animal rights issue, but one that affects every aspect of our lives. So this one sounds like really great, kind of like touches on all aspects of veganism, and maybe I will watch it. Like, this is one that I'm like, okay, I really want to watch this one. I haven't read the book, but I love Natalie Portman, and I've heard that book is awesome. So maybe I'll try to watch this one soon. I'm just scared of seeing animal cruelty images and videos, but this sounds like a really, really good movie. I should probably watch it. So if you haven't seen this one and that sounds like something interesting to you, it just sounds great, talking about local and sustainable farming, which is what we should be doing, and how it's grown so it's just grown so far away from that. And it's not even really farming anymore. It's just using animals as commodity, which is just not appropriate, and it's not how it should be, and some steps that we can take as individuals and consumers and just so that we can make a change. And it sounds like a really good documentary. I should probably watch it. But if it sounds good to you, check it out, read the book, and maybe let me know how it is. If you've seen this one, or if you listen to this podcast and then you watch it, come find this video on YouTube or come find me on Instagram and let me know. If it's like really awful animal cruelty images and videos and stuff, let me know. If it's not too bad, if I could just like kind of cover my eyes for a little bit, then let me know, because I want to watch it, but I don't want to like scar my brain. So let me know how it is if you've seen it. Okay, and the last one on my list isn't really a documentary. It's a little 5-minute video, but it is so popular and so just impactful. So many people say this is the reason that they went from vegetarian to vegan. So I wanted to include this on the list. It's called Dairy is Scary. It's available on YouTube, and it came out in 2015. It has almost 6 million views, 5,766,000 views on YouTube. And like I said, it's just a 5-minute video. It's a really easy to comprehend and digest analysis of the cruel practices inherent to the dairy industry. It includes the practice of forcibly impregnating cows, taking baby calves away from their mothers right after birth to be sent to slaughter, and some of the common ailments and issues that cows can suffer from due to overexhaustion in these factory farming practices. So if you're maybe vegetarian, maybe you're on and off again vegan, or you want to cut out dairy, but you're like, why is it really necessary? This is a really simple, quick way to kind of get all the information in really quickly. So if you're like, I don't want to watch a whole documentary, watch this first, and then it might inspire you to watch some of these other documentaries. Or I included this on the list because this is a really, really good one to send to people who are like, I'm vegetarian, veganism is just too much. Dairy is not that bad. They don't hurt the animals that much. They just milk the cows and they need to be milked anyway. Send this video to them or ask them to watch this, and they're gonna be shocked. So this is a really good one to watch if you just are short on time, or if someone doesn't want to watch a whole documentary and they still want all of the information. Or if someone asks you like, hey, why don't you eat dairy? Why don't you drink milk? Why don't you eat cheese? Watch this. It takes 5 minutes and you'll have lots of like facts and stats and things like that to kind of back up your decision to not doing that stuff, to not contributing to the awful practices of the dairy industry. So I know that one's not technically a documentary, but I think it's really, really impactful, and I wanted to include it on this list. Okay, so that's it. That completes my list of my top 10 vegan documentaries. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I was going to say this was a fun one to put together, but it really wasn't, because I watched the trailers for all of these and I was not doing well earlier this week. I was really emotional, really sad, really bummed out. But I think this is a really important episode because these movies need to be watched. They need to be seen. They need to be seen by the general public. So use the little ripple effect that I always talk about. Pass some of these movies on and get some of your non-vegan friends and family to educate themselves a little bit more, and do it in a non-pushy way if that feels best for you. Like, hey, I would love if you watch this movie. Like, your health means a lot to me and I want you to be around. I want you to be around as long as possible. I love you so much, and it's all out of love. And you never know. You never know what's going to happen. You never know who might be like, whoa, I had no idea about this stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please pass this information on to anyone who might enjoy it as well or might gain some useful insight from it. I think it's really important stuff that needs to be shared and talked about. Don't forget to go check out Osea Malibu's products. Use my link in the description and you'll get $10 off your first purchase of $50. Such a good deal. Such a good deal. Their stuff is so worth it. As far as upcoming episodes go, I think my next one is going to be tips for transitioning to veganism. I thought that would be a good one in the new year. Hopefully it will come out in 2 weeks. I've been releasing my podcast every 2 weeks, but with Christmas and New Year's and all of that stuff happening, it might be a little bit later than that, but hopefully I'll get it out on time. If not, be patient. It will be coming out because I think that'd be a really good one kind of around the new year for all the people who make a resolution to eat less animal products or to be more vegan or to go vegan completely. So I think that'll be the next episode. And then I think the one after that, I'm not 100% sure yet, but I think a fun one and a really interesting one to do would be mistakes new vegans make. Again, another good one for January for some of those new vegans or people wanting to go vegan. So I think those will be the next 2 episodes coming up. So get excited for that. Again, go follow the How to Vegan Podcast on Instagram. Leave a rating and a review for this podcast on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I love you guys. Those of you who have done it, mwah, I love you. You are the best. If you have any ideas for an episode, let me know. I will be available everywhere. Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Join my Facebook group. Join my How to Vegan Facebook group. It is such a great place to ask questions and to share pictures of your food and to gather inspiration, all of that stuff. So join my How to Vegan Facebook group. If you haven't joined yet, you'll be joining almost 85,000. We're getting close to 85,000 members. So it's a really great, expansive group from people all over that can help you with questions if I can't get to them in time, or if you want more than one opinion, join the group. You will love it. It's a really safe, non-judgmental, kind, supportive atmosphere, and I think you'll love it. Feel free to hit me up with any questions you might have. Send me a little DM on Instagram or send me a message on Facebook. It might take me a little bit of time to get back to you, so don't be alarmed if I don't get back to you right away, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, hit me up if you have any questions about this episode or anything else, and I will help you out. But again, join my How to Vegan Facebook group because I think that that's a better place to ask questions than to ask me, and then I'll usually chime in. You can always tag me too in the question that you ask, and I'll provide my input as soon as I get a chance. And again, all of the links for everything that I mentioned will be in the show notes over at kristenpound.com. Click on the link that says full show notes in the description of this episode on whatever podcast listening platform you are tuning in on, and it will take you right there. And you can click on the trailers, watch the trailers for these movies, and anything I mentioned will be linked there. So everything is nice and in one place. And if you're like, where can I listen to this episode? You can go there and you'll find links for Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, YouTube, all of that. So if you're wanting to share this podcast with someone, you can just send them that full show notes link, and then they can kind of go from there and decide where they want to listen to the podcast. So thanks again for listening to this episode. I really, really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a good holiday season and a good new year, and I will just catch you guys in 2020. I can't believe it's 2020. It's a new decade. It's going to be a good one. It's going to be such a good decade for veganism. It is going to blow up. Things are going to change so much in the next 10 years. It has to change. As far as the environment goes, people don't want to hurt animals. People are wanting to be healthier. It is going to be a huge 10 years for the vegan movement. So I'm so glad that you guys are involved already and are educating yourselves. I'm just so excited. 2020 itself is going to be amazing. I'm so excited we're in the 20s now. So I will see you guys in the next decade. Thanks again for listening, and I will just catch you in the next episode of the How to Vegan Podcast. Peace.